My dear friend, sit with me for a while. Let me tell you something I've noticed in my long, creaky years on this planet. There's this mysterious time in the deep night, around 3 a.m. to 5 a.m., when the world feels so quiet, it's almost whispering secrets. And you know what? I've lost count of how many older women, sweet as my late Margaret, have told me, "Paul, why do I keep waking up at this ungodly hour?" Now, before you roll your eyes and think, "Oh, it's just because I'm aging," let me tell you, it's not always that simple. There's a reason your body calls out to you in those hours. It could be your mind nudging you about something left unresolved. Or maybe your body is simply saying, "Hey, we need a little attention down here." So, if you've been tossing and turning while the clock strikes 3:27 a.m., wondering if you're haunted by an overactive bladder or a restless soul, stay with me. I've got some stories, some science, and a sprinkle of humor to keep you from nodding off again. But before we dive in, let me ask you, friend, have you really noticed what you feel when you wake up? Is it anxiety, hunger, loneliness, or just a habit you've accidentally trained yourself into? I'll help you figure it out, my friend, and I promise by the end of this, you'll have 6 gentle but powerful tricks to calm those midnight wake-up calls. Now, let's start with a little confession. You see, after I turned 70, I found myself waking up at 3:15 every single morning. It wasn't an alarm clock, it was my body clock, and boy, was it stubborn. At first, I'd lie there staring at the ceiling fan, thinking, "Well, Paul, this is how it ends, death by boredom." But then, something interesting happened. I realized those hours were actually when my thoughts were the loudest. I thought of old regrets, things I wanted to say but never did, and the people I missed. It felt heavy. I know many of you feel the same. Waking between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. can be more than just a sleep issue. In traditional Chinese medicine, they say those hours are connected to your lungs, linked to grief and sadness. And you know what? That made sense. I missed my Margaret terribly. So let me ask you, friend, have you been carrying old grief, unspoken worries? Maybe that's why you're up while the world is still dreaming. But don't worry, I'm not here to make you cry into your pillow. I'm here to give you hope, because there are ways to break free from this cycle. Have you ever wondered if waking up at 3 a.m. is your body trying to tell you something deeper? Stick with me, because you might just discover a truth you've ignored for years. Now, before I get to the 6 things that saved me from those haunted hours, let's talk about why it's happening in the first place. As we age, our melatonin, the sleep hormone, starts acting like a lazy teenager. It doesn't show up on time, and it doesn't stick around long. That means our sleep cycles get lighter. Add in aches, medications, a little stress about the grandkids, or maybe even about yourself, and boom, you're awake when you shouldn't be. But here's the kicker. If you wake up consistently at the same time, it means your body clock is locked in a weird rhythm. And to fix it, you have to reset it gently. That's where my 6 little secrets come in. Secret 1, a pre-sleep ritual that actually works. Oh, don't roll your eyes. I know everyone and their dog has told you to just relax before bed. But I'm not talking about just lighting a candle and calling it a day. I'm talking about something intentional. What worked for me? A little journaling. Yes, even at 80, I write like a teenager with a crush. I grab a notebook before bed and dump all the thoughts swirling in my head. Worries, hopes, even the random nonsense like, did I leave the stove on? Why? Because your brain doesn't like unfinished business. If you give it a chance to empty itself before bed, it won't wake you up at 3 a.m. with a mental list of what you forgot. So tonight, before you slide under those blankets, write down 3 things you're grateful for, 3 things you want to let go of, and 1 silly thing that made you smile today. You'll be surprised how much lighter you'll sleep. Secret 2. Keep your room cool, like a gentle spring morning. You know what I used to do wrong? I'd pile on blankets like I was preparing for the Arctic. And guess what? Around 3 a.m., my old body overheated, and poof, I was awake, drenched like I'd been dancing in the rain. Your body naturally cools down in the early morning hours, but if your room is too warm, it disrupts that process. So keep it around 65 degrees Fahrenheit. It feels crisp, cozy, and your sleep cycle thanks you. Try a light blanket and maybe even a fan. Trust me, it's like hugging the perfect breeze. Now hold that thought, friend, because before I give you the next 3 secrets, I need to pause for a second. If you're still with me, still sipping this little cup of wisdom, I'd love for you to do me a favor. This kind of talk, heart to heart, honest and hopeful, keeps our little community alive. So if you're finding this helpful, give this channel a thumbs up. Drop a comment about your own 3 a.m. struggles and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss more of these late-night life lessons. All right, ready for the next ones? Let's keep going. Secret 4. Gentle night movement. No, not yoga pretzel moves. Listen, I'm not asking you to twist yourself into a human pretzel at 8 p.m., but a few minutes of slow stretching before bed can work wonders. I like to call it old man yoga. Just some slow neck rolls, arm stretches, and maybe a soft forward fold. It signals your body, hey, it's time to wind down, not wind up. And here's the secret. If you do this with deep breathing, you're calming your nervous system, which means less tossing and turning later. Now, secret 5. No midnight snacks, please. Now, I love a good midnight snack. Back in the day, Margaret and I would sneak into the kitchen for cookies and warm milk. But as much as I loved those moments, they didn't love me back. Eating too close to bedtime keeps your digestive system awake, which wakes you up later. So keep your dinners light and avoid sugar late at night. Your gut will thank you, and so will your sleep. Secret 6. Reframe the 3 a.m. wake-up call. This one, my dear, is more about your mind than your body. When you wake up at 3 a.m., don't panic. Don't reach for your phone. Don't start counting how many hours of sleep you have left. Instead, treat it like a little sacred moment. Close your eyes, take 3 deep breaths, maybe even say a short prayer, or think of one beautiful memory. It changes the energy of the moment. Instead of seeing it as a curse, see it as a quiet gift of reflection. And guess what? When you stop fighting the wake-up, your body relaxes and drifts back to sleep. Now, tell me, friend, which of these 6 secrets do you think would change your nights the most? Stick around because I have more stories about how these small habits transformed not just my sleep, but my mornings too. When I finally put these 6 little habits into place, my nights became softer. I didn't just sleep better. I woke up with less anxiety, less heaviness in my heart. And here's the beautiful twist. After a few weeks, I noticed I wasn't waking up at 3 a.m. anymore. And when I did, it didn't scare me. It just felt like a soft whisper saying, everything's okay. But what happens if you've tried all this and still wake up at 3 a.m.? Oh, don't you worry. I've got one more story for you, and it might just change the way you see those early hours forever. You see, friend, even after I started using those 6 habits, there were still nights when I'd wake up like clockwork at 3:11 a.m., and instead of panicking, I started listening. Yes, listening. What was my body trying to tell me? Sometimes it was just, hey, you drank tea too late. But other times, it was something deeper. It was loneliness. It was unspoken fears about getting older. It was memories of my late Margaret whispering in my heart. I'll tell you a story. A few years ago, I met a lovely lady named Eleanor at the senior center. She was 75, sharp as a tack, but she looked tired. She said to me, "Paul, every single night I wake up at 3 a.m. and I can't go back to sleep. I feel this heaviness in my chest." I told her, "Eleanor, you're not broken. You're human. Sometimes our souls wake up when the world is quiet, because that's when the truths we avoid come to visit." She looked at me like I'd just told her the meaning of life. So we tried something simple together. We turned those 3 a.m. wake-ups into a tiny ritual. When she woke up, instead of stressing, she'd take 3 deep breaths and say, "I am safe. I am loved. I am calm." And you know what? Within weeks, Eleanor started sleeping through the night again, not because she forced herself, but because she gave her heart permission to rest. What if waking up at 3 a.m. isn't a problem to fix, but a message to understand? Let me tell you why that matters more than you think. Now, let's talk about something a little more mystical, because, hey, I'm 80, I've got nothing to lose by telling you this. In many old traditions, they say waking up between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. is the spiritual hour. It's when your inner world and the universe feels thinnest. Now, I'm not saying you're about to have some ghostly encounter, but maybe your soul is nudging you gently. What is it trying to say? Are you living fully? Have you left things unsaid? Or do you simply need more self-kindness? When I reframed my wake-ups as a moment to listen instead of a sleep failure, I felt more peaceful, even if I didn't fall asleep right away. And here's another practical thing you can do. Don't stay in bed tossing and turning. If after 15 minutes you're still awake, get up. Yes, even at 3:27 a.m. Sit in a cozy chair. Read a few pages of a light-hearted book or listen to soft music. Then, when your eyes feel heavy again, slide back into bed. You're teaching your brain that the bed is for resting, not for worrying. I also want to talk about one overlooked culprit: post-rest hormones. At night, cortisol should be at its lowest, but as we age, or if we're dealing with worry, cortisol can spike in the early hours. That little adrenaline rush is enough to wake you up. So during the day, make sure you're doing things that lower stress, like gentle walks, laughing with friends, or even just sitting quietly in the sun. Because how you live during the day shapes how you sleep at night. Let me tell you one more funny story, because I promised you some laughs, didn't I? I once woke up at 3 a.m., went to the kitchen half asleep, and poured myself what I thought was milk to warm up. Turns out it was my granddaughter's vanilla protein shake. I sat there, sipping, thinking, milk tastes weird these days. By 5 a.m., I was wide awake, full of energy like I was 25 again. I even vacuumed the whole house before sunrise. My daughter thought I'd lost it. So moral of the story, be careful what you reach for in the middle of the night, or you might end up starting your day way too early. But jokes aside, here's what I want you to really remember, friend. Waking up between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m. doesn't mean you're doomed. It doesn't mean your body's betraying you. It just means something, physical, emotional, or even spiritual, is tapping you on the shoulder. And you have 2 choices: fight it or listen gently and adjust. Now, before I wrap this up, let me give you the final piece of the puzzle, the one mindset shift that changed everything for me. It might just do the same for you. Here it is. Stop fearing the night. When you go to bed already expecting to wake up at 3 a.m., your brain listens. It's like you're giving it a little wake-up order. So instead, go to bed with kindness. Tell yourself, I'll rest deeply. And if I wake, it's okay. I'll just breathe and return to sleep. This one small act of self-compassion changes the energy you carry into your sleep. And remember those 6 secrets we talked about? Don't try to do them all perfectly at once. Pick one, just one. Maybe tonight you write a few thoughts before bed. Tomorrow you keep your room cooler. Little by little, you'll retrain your nights. Before I close, let me leave you with this thought. At 80 years old, I've learned that sleep, like life, can't be forced. It can only be welcomed. The more gently you treat yourself, the easier it becomes. So, if you find yourself awake in those quiet hours, don't scold yourself. Don't grab your phone. Don't let your mind spiral into fear. Just breathe. Be present. Be kind to yourself. Because sometimes those early hours are simply an invitation to pause, to feel, and to remind yourself that you're still here, still living, still learning. Now, tell me in the comments, have you been waking up at 3 a.m. lately? Which of these habits will you try first? I'd love to hear your story too. So, my dear friend, if you're an older woman, or even a man like me, who's been waking up between 3 a.m. and 5 a.m., don't despair. Try these 6 things. Be gentle with yourself. And remember, this is just another phase of life's journey, not the end of it. And before you go, don't forget to like this video if it touched your heart, share it with a friend who's been struggling with their sleep, and subscribe to this little corner of the internet where we talk about the things nobody else really says out loud. Until next time, sleep softly and know you're not alone. And hey, if you do happen to wake up tonight, just remember, old Paul is probably awake somewhere too, thinking of you and sending you a quiet smile.